Hi, my name is Katie Lee, and this is the Ivory Tower. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to take a look at online streaming. It's fast becoming the preferred method to access television content. But how did this happen? And what does it mean for the future of traditional TV? We've chosen to go behind the scenes to speak to the industry professionals and researchers on this topic to bring you the inside story on how the industry is coping with this disruptive emerging technology. We begin with Matt Mitchell. Matt is the Chief of Staff of the Nine Network's Today Show. This year, Nine partnered with Fairfax to launch Stan, an online streaming service. We spoke to Matt about this venture and what it means for consumers.
Consumers are very much into what's video nowadays as opposed to television. So the old television program that we saw in the 50s and 60s and 70s right through to the 80s and even into the 90s has completely gone. Now, I suppose in the next 10 years, the experts are sort of predicting that 90% of all web traffic will be video. And video is absolutely massive. So not just YouTube, but video on demand services, etc. as well. Nine created Stan as a way of preempting the arrival of Netflix. So in advance of Netflix coming, it is the subscription video on demand juggernaut. So in the States, it's absolutely huge. Knowing that it was coming out here, Nine and Seven and other players knew they had to do something. And pretty much the reason why is that the whole service that it provides is that it provides video on demand when people want it. No longer will people be told what to watch and when to watch it. They'll choose when and they'll choose how. The future of TV is probably not as grim as what people would expect it to be. Newspapers in particular, I think, have a very bleak future. Television less so. So the way that television is trying to evolve, they're far more prepared than what the other traditional heritage media has been. In this example, I mean newspapers and magazines. So in regards to television, for example, they know their areas of strength. So they've been able to partner with other media outlets, in the case of Stan with Fairfax, in the case of Seven with Foxtel, for example, with Presto. They've been able to partner together and form a new venture. The internet's been a great disruptor, 100% to media consumption and to a lot of business models, to retail, to real estate, everything. It's really like stuffed things up for a lot of people. And the same applies to television. People won't be told when to watch things anymore. If they want to binge consume, they will. If they want to watch it at 2 a.m. in the morning on a Monday, when traditionally a television station wasn't broadcasting it, then they will. And television stations need to be able to do that.
Matt Mitchell there, discussing the Nine Network's recently launched online streaming service, Stan. Now we're going to hear from Michael McMahon and Jennifer Holt. Both Michael and Jennifer are well versed in the area of television. Michael is the executive chairman and commercial director of Matchbox Pictures and has been involved in a number of popular TV shows such as The Real Housewives of Melbourne and The Slap. Jennifer is the associate professor of film and media studies at the University of California. Jennifer has extensively researched media policy and online streaming. We spoke to them about the future of television, and they offered us a different perspective.
I think the industry here in Australia has been really slow to respond. I think the avenues for distribution online are there, but we also have we've got quite a rigid production model in terms of financing, and therefore the division of rights is actually still it's contested now in a way that it wasn't even 2 years ago, and the pointy area of contest is about the streaming rights, the online rights, the ability for the content to go online, and the inherent tension is that we actually get financed by free-to-air broadcasters for most of our content, including kids, and their interest is in holding back material for the free-to-air broadcasts. And yet, as you point out, the audience, particularly in that younger age group, actually wants the content. They want it now. They want it when they're ready to see it, and they don't want to look at a TV guide to see when the broadcaster is going to make it available. They need to respond to the audience and the way the audience actually wants to view their content. I'm optimistic we can. I'm just not sure what the model looks like.
In the US, I think the situation is very much in flux. The linear broadcast viewer or linear television viewer, meaning the one who's watching in real time on the couch, on the television set, is still the audience that is most valued by advertisers. I think the reality of people's attention hasn't caught up with metrics quite yet. And so the mobile or the computer-based audience is not counted as heavily, that you don't make as much per those eyeballs. And so the industry is still heavily invested in keeping viewers on the couch in real time. That said, they do recognize that this is not their future. The networks are still able to command the biggest audiences. So they're not playing catch up in those terms. But they are watching Netflix win Emmys, for example, and streaming platforms starting to win awards for shows that they're used to winning. The streaming audience is not a valued commodity yet, and so that has prevented most content from being seen by that audience that's waiting for it quickly.
Some interesting views there from Michael and Jennifer. So how's the general public embracing online streaming? We took to the streets of Melbourne to find out what you think.
Not a big fan of broadcast TV. There's too many ads in it.
Oh no, I much prefer it online, mostly just because of ads.
Change the battery a lot in the remote and keep flicking in between ads. Ads annoy me.
I feel like ads always go on for too long and it always interrupts the show, so I feel like I'd be super into it, and then there's an ad and the ad lasts about like 2-3 minutes and it just totally puts me out of the mood.
Downloading from YouTube works the best. Can get rid of all those ads.
The stream online gives you the flexibility on watching it on your own time, so normally prefer that.
But I do a sort of a David Bowie approach. Just I have it saturated when I want it. Hit me. Yeah.
I like the convenience of being at my computer. Plus, I can do other things as well.
I much prefer laptop. Sometimes my iPad, but mostly laptop.
Subscribe to Netflix. Yeah, it's pretty good. Enjoyed a few things on there. Bit of limited choice, but it's what you get for $10.
I do love Netflix because I can catch up on stuff if I missed it.
I think TV will die out and it'll all go online. I think that's the way it's heading.
Some interesting perspectives there. Well, our next guest has worked in the television industry in Australia and New Zealand for the last 10 years. Writer and director Dave Cartel joins us now in the studio. Thanks for coming in, Dave.
No problem.
So what drove the decision for you to make something that was designed for an online viewing rather than
my business partner and I have always kind of been in this kind of space where we're making stuff for kind of younger people who are a lot more kind of adaptable for those kinds of spaces. And so it kind of that audience traditionally is more kind of used to watching things online, and a lot of that audience, kind of teenagers and kids, don't even watch things on traditional TV at all. So we just wanted to make a comedy, actually, with a friend of ours who's in it, and we kind of wanted to make the show. And when we initially pitched it, which was a couple of years ago now, it was a half-hour show. And so as that progressed and the show kind of took shape, it became apparent that it was going to be something that the network wanted to put online and kind of help to spearhead into a certain demographic.
And so with the television industry trying to adapt and bringing in these streaming services and catch-up services and just bringing more content online, how is this going to change the industry for people like you that make the television?
It's really great for us, because if you make content is more in demand than ever. So like I said, with if you're putting things kind of into the online space, and they can be a bit more niche, essentially, and not even that niche, just a little bit more niche than your main commercial network will do. You got an opportunity to do that now. So people are kind of making things I think they're more passionate about, and we're getting more quality content. And now that the HBO model has well and truly swept the planet and said, hey, look, we just made quality content, look what happened. People really, demanded it. The kind of demand for quality content is bigger than ever. So I think if you're a content maker, and also more places are kind of distributing content than ever. There's websites online. It's kind of an infinite thing rather than your 5 standard channels that it used to be, even quite recently. So I think if you're making content and more people are funding content, it's a really great time.
Yeah, I guess there's no limit to the space, whereas with channels, I suppose there was sort of limited space for that.
Yeah, there was big bandwidth definitions,
yeah.
you couldn't fit more channels on. It was as simple as that in the model pre-digital. So yeah, it's really it's like Amazon now funding movies and stuff like that. It's like everyone's kind of getting into the space, and it's it's really kind of an exciting time.
Yeah. Best of luck with Robot Panther, and hopefully we'll see the new show, Trip for Biscuits, on our computer screens or other screens sometime in the near future. Thanks a lot for coming in, Dave.
No problem.
And that's all we have time for. It's been great to have your company. Thanks for tuning in to the Ivory Tower. See you next time.